Here, losing one by-election might be considered unfortunate, but to lose two is proving all too common for the Conservatives. Their latest damaging double defeat was sealed this time last night when polls closed in Kingswood, in South Gloucestershire, and in the Northamptonshire seat of Wellingborough. There, the Tories suffered their biggest drop in support of any by-election since World War II. The big winner, apart from the victorious Labour candidates, of course, was Reform UK.
Wellingborough is the latest safe Conservative seat to switch to Labour. But even its new MP, 28-year-old Jen Kitchen, can't quite believe the result. Were you expecting a win that big?
Well, I must admit, I was surprised at the largeness of the majority, over 6,000 votes, and I'm so grateful.
The defeated Conservative candidate put on a brave face. Very few MPs came to help her campaign.
I don't think campaigns are run on the number of MPs that come to support you.
But if nobody comes to support you, that must say something.
We run a brilliant campaign.
Well, good morning, everyone, and what a great...
Conservative woes and Labour cheers were less of a surprise in Kingswood. And when you've seen these scenes before, you've got your excuses ready, like mid-term elections are difficult.
Well, mid-term by-elections are always difficult for incumbent governments, and the circumstances of these by-elections were, of course, particularly challenging.
Or don't read into the result.
I'd never read too much into by-elections.
Or the turnout was low.
We've seen a really big reduction in turnout. I understand that.
It doesn't matter so long as they got more than you.
I would agree with you on that point.
Yeah, nice to see you. How are you doing?
A double by-election win can help turn the page on a difficult week.
Last night, people who hadn't voted Labour before went out and voted Labour, so I'm very pleased with both of those results. But there is more work to do, there's a long way to go, and as every football fan knows, you don't win the league by a good result in February.
Let's get some sleep, we'll have a drink.
After finishing third in both by-elections, the Reform Party was relishing taking on more Conservative MPs.
If they get booted out at the next election, it's not Reform UK that would have done it, it's because they haven't delivered for the British people.
We've seen scenes like these quite a few times over the past year, but these results are still incredibly significant, and they point to a trend of voters turning away from the Conservative Party and of growing political momentum for Labour.
To me, it's let's have someone new, let's see if they can do better.
How hard was it for you to switch to Labour this time round?
Well, it wasn't difficult because I can just see how my own bank balance is going, and I'm sure a lot of people felt the same.
Well done.
By-elections can be emotional affairs, but the hard facts of these results should focus Conservative minds as a general election approaches. Harry Horton, News at 10, Wellingborough.
Well, sorry for any sound issues there on Harry's report, but there are echoes in all of this of the run-up to 1997, when for years the ruling Conservatives had failed to gain or even hold a single seat in a by-election. So how bad could the next general election be for the Tories? Carl has been looking at the numbers.
Labour have now taken 6 seats directly from the Conservatives in by-elections since 2019. Only one, Hartlepool, has gone the other way. And the Lib Dems have taken another 4 from the Tories. So while we shouldn't read too much into a couple of results, 10 losses are harder to ignore. And last night's defeat in Wellingborough was particularly bad for the Tories.
On some measures, this is the worst by-election defeat the Conservatives have ever suffered in terms of the drop in their own vote. And 4 months ago, we had the Tamworth by-election. We thought, can it get any worse? And it has got any worse. And last night was repeated in a general election. The Conservatives in Parliament would be reduced to the dozens, right? Think about that. Less than 100, fewer than 100 Conservative MPs.
Now, Wellingborough's huge 28.5% swing from the Tories to Labour is the second biggest such swing since the war. The biggest up there at the top was in Dudley in the run-up to Labour's 1997 landslide. But look at this. The third biggest, Tamworth, and the fourth biggest were only last year. And the Tories have a new problem. Reform UK. Last night, they came third in both seats from a standing start. In fact, in Kingswood, the number of votes Reform got was actually slightly larger than the number Labour won by. Reform UK could clearly be very damaging to the Tories at a general election, especially if they follow through on their threat to stand in every seat. Conservatives are hoping for a repeat of the 1992 election, when John Major pulled off a surprise victory after being behind in the polls. But Rishi Sunak is further behind than Major was at this stage. The polls show no sign of narrowing, and the Tories have now suffered their worst run of by-election defeats since the war. To win a majority, Keir Starmer still needs a bigger swing than Tony Blair got in 1997, but as things stand, he's on course to get it.